My reflection in the mirror just aged 20 years, in 3 seconds, while I was watching it. And it started the exact moment I turned over the daguerreotype and read the inscription in what looked like dried blood. I remember everything. I see everything. My father died 3 days ago. I found the photograph in a hidden compartment behind a false panel in his mahogany desk. The kind of secret space you only discover when you're searching for something else entirely. I'd been looking for his will. Instead, I found this. The woman stares directly into the lens with eyes that burn through the silver plate. Her face holds a beauty that makes you uncomfortable. Not because it's flawed, because it's perfect in a way that shouldn't exist in someone wearing the plain dress of an enslaved person. High cheekbones, skin like polished mahogany, hair wrapped in a patterned cloth. But her eyes, God help me, her eyes contain an intelligence so fierce the daguerreotype seems to vibrate in my hands. I'm Abigail Thornwood, 28 years old, unmarried, the sole surviving child of James Thornwood, master of Oak Ridge Plantation in Mississippi. 3 days ago, my father collapsed during dinner, clutching his chest, his face twisted in what the doctor called apoplexy, but what looked to me like terror. His last words made no sense. She sees. She always sees. Then he died. If this story has already gripped you, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. You're about to discover secrets that have been buried for 70 years, and trust me, you won't want to miss a single revelation. Drop a comment and let me know what you think is really happening here. Is this supernatural, or is there something deeper at work? Now I stand in my bedroom, holding this photograph, and my reflection shows a woman with gray streaking through her dark hair, deep lines around her mouth, age spots on her hands. But when I touch my face, my skin is smooth. When I look down at my hands, they're young. The mirror lies, or tells a truth I'm not ready to understand. Before we go further, if you're drawn to stories where the past refuses to stay buried, where silence becomes its own kind of testimony, hit that subscribe button. This tale gets darker than you can imagine. Ring the notification bell so you don't miss what happens when Abigail discovers why this photograph has been hidden for decades. Drop a comment telling me if you believe objects can hold memories. Can a photograph contain more than just an image? Stay with me. You'll want to see where this leads. I try to set the daguerreotype on my dressing table. My hand won't release it. The metal feels warm, almost body temperature. Wrong. Everything about this is wrong. I purchased this plantation house with my inheritance when I turned 21. My father moved to the smaller overseer's cottage on the property after Mother died. We maintained separate lives, separate spaces. He insisted on it. Now I understand he needed distance, needed walls between us, between me and his secrets. The inscription on the back of the daguerreotype isn't written. It's carved. Someone used a sharp instrument to gouge the words directly into the metal backing. I remember everything. I see everything. The letters are uneven, frantic, made by someone with limited time, or unlimited rage. My head begins to ache, a pressure building behind my eyes like thunderstorms gathering on a summer afternoon. I close my eyes and suddenly I'm not in my bedroom anymore. I'm standing in a cabin with a dirt floor, rough wooden walls, a single window covered with oiled paper, the smell of wood smoke and fear. A woman crouches in the corner, her hands moving frantically, hiding something beneath a loose floorboard. Not hiding, preserving. A lock of baby hair tied with thread. A torn piece of paper with writing I can't quite read. A button. Silver. Expensive. Evidence of something. Then I'm back in my room, gasping, my heart racing like I've run miles. 6 hours have passed. The sun has set. My bedroom is dark, except for moonlight streaming through the windows. The furniture has moved. My bed now sits against the opposite wall. The wardrobe stands where my bed should be. The chairs have switched positions. But I live alone. The servants left at sunset. No one else has keys to my private chambers. I light a lamp with trembling hands. In the mirror, my reflection looks even older. 60 years old now. White hair, hands gnarled with age. The woman stares back at me with eyes I barely recognize. Except they're not my eyes anymore. They're hers. The woman from the daguerreotype. I scream. No sound comes out. 1854. Oak Ridge Plantation, Mississippi. July. Eliza stands at the window of the master's house and remembers. She remembers every crack in the plaster wall, every word of the conversation happening in the study below, every detail of the room where her master, where James Thornwood, told the slave trader he needs her gone by week's end. Because Eliza remembers everything, every single moment she's ever experienced, preserved in her mind with perfect clarity. The technical term, which she learned by listening to a doctor examine another slave years ago, is hyperthymesia, total autobiographical recall. She can tell you what she ate for breakfast on any given day of her life, can recite conversations word for word from years past, can draw floor plans of every building she's ever entered. It's a gift that became a curse the moment James Thornwood's wife discovered the truth. The baby, 3 months old. Skin light enough to raise questions, eyes the exact shade of green as the master's. Mary Thornwood isn't stupid. She counted backwards from the birth, realized the timing coincided with her own pregnancy, with her own daughter. 2 babies born within weeks of each other under the same roof, one white, one enslaved. Both fathered by the same man. The confrontation happened yesterday. Eliza heard every word from the kitchen, where she was nursing both infants. Mary's voice, sharp with betrayal. James's voice, defensive, making excuses. Then, the decision. Cold. Final. Sell her south. Immediately. Make sure she never returns. Make sure the babies never meet. Make sure this shame stays buried. Eliza clutches her daughter one last time in the cabin after dark. The baby makes soft sounds against her chest. Eliza memorizes the weight, the smell, the exact pattern of hair growth on the tiny skull, the placement of each finger. Every detail locked into her extraordinary memory, because soon that will be all she has left. They'll take her daughter in the morning, but Eliza has a plan. She waits until the main house goes dark, until the white family sleeps. Then she moves through shadows, silent as smoke, carrying nothing but determination and rage. The back door to the main house doesn't lock properly. She discovered this months ago while cleaning, memorized which floorboards creak, which stairs groan. The exact path through the house that makes no sound. She's used this route before, late nights when James summoned her, when she had no choice but to come, when he took what was never offered. She remembers every time, every violation, every moment she couldn't refuse. Now she uses that same path for theft. The daguerreotype sits in James's study, a new technology, expensive. He had it made last year when he traveled to New Orleans, a portrait of himself looking prosperous and respectable. The photographer left the equipment for a week, took portraits of the whole family, including one of Eliza. James ordered it destroyed, told the photographer enslaved people didn't need portraits. But Eliza saw where he hid it instead, in the desk, behind the false panel, kept like a trophy, like proof of ownership. She takes it now. Her hands shake as she pulls the metal plate from its case. In the moonlight streaming through the study window, she sees herself frozen in time. Young, beautiful, furious. The photographer captured something in her eyes that day, a witnessing, an accusation. She finds a nail on James's desk, uses it to scratch words into the soft metal backing. Her literacy is self-taught, learned by watching the Thornwood children's lessons from doorways, absorbing everything her perfect memory could hold. I remember everything. I see everything. It's a promise, a threat, a testimony that will outlive her. She knows what happens to enslaved women sold to the Deep South, knows the auction blocks of New Orleans, knows the brothels and the sugar plantations and the places where people disappear into grinding horror. She knows she probably won't survive long. But before we continue with what happens next, make sure you've liked this video and subscribed to the channel. This story is about to take a turn that will change everything you thought you knew about justice, memory, and the power of testimony. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. Your support helps stories like this reach the people who need them most. But this daguerreotype will. This evidence will. Her memory, somehow, will find a way to speak. She tucks the photograph into her dress and moves back through the silent house, past the nursery where two babies sleep, one in a carved wooden cradle, one in a basket on the floor. Eliza pauses at the doorway, looks at both children, her daughter, her master's legitimate heir, half-sisters who will never know each other, unless... She touches the wall beside the nursery door, memorizes its exact texture, the pattern of the wallpaper, the height of the door frame, every detail. Then she closes her eyes and projects her memory onto this moment, willing it to remain, to persist, to haunt. Someday, she thinks, someday someone will see what I've seen, know what I know, witness what cannot be spoken. The next morning, slave traders arrive at dawn. They chain Eliza in a wagon with 6 other people being sold south. Her daughter is already gone, given to a wet nurse on a neighboring plantation. Mary Thornwood made sure Eliza wouldn't even see her one last time. As the wagon pulls away from Oak Ridge, Eliza doesn't look back. She looks forward. Her photographic memory recording every landmark, every turn, every mile of the journey, creating a map, leaving breadcrumbs of memory through reality itself. In her dress pocket, the daguerreotype presses against her ribs like a beating heart. James Thornwood watches from the porch of the main house. His face shows relief. Problem solved, shame buried, secret kept. He has no idea what he's unleashed. Eliza's memory is stronger than chains, deeper than rivers, more permanent than any law that says she's property instead of human. She remembers everything, and one day, through means he can't imagine, she'll make someone else remember too. If you're still with me, you need to hear what happens next. The story of how Eliza's testimony crossed decades to reach Abigail is going to challenge everything you think you know about justice and memory and the debts the past demands we pay. Subscribe now if you haven't already. Like this video so others can find it. Because what Abigail discovers about her own birth, about her connection to the woman in the photograph, will rewrite everything she thought she knew about her family. Comment below and tell me, can memory survive death? Can truth demand justice even from the grave? Let's find out together. I haven't slept in 4 days. Every time I close my eyes, I see things I've never witnessed. A woman giving birth alone in a wooden cabin, biting down on leather to keep from screaming. A man signing papers while a baby cries in the background. An auction block under merciless sun, flesh displayed like merchandise. When I open my eyes, my bedroom has changed again. The furniture rearranges itself while I'm looking away. I'll turn my head, and the wardrobe will have moved 3 feet to the left. The mirror shifts to different walls. My bed rotates positions, like some invisible hand is testing layouts, searching for a configuration that matches a memory I don't possess. The daguerreotype sits on my nightstand. I've tried to put it elsewhere, in drawers, in the attic. Once I walked it half a mile from the house and left it by the road. It's always back on my nightstand by morning, and the woman's eyes follow me. I know how insane that sounds. Daguerreotypes can't move. The image is fixed in silver on metal. But I swear, when I'm on one side of the room, she's looking at me. When I move to the other side, her gaze shifts. Always watching, always witnessing. My reflection continues to age. Yesterday I looked 50. Today I look 65. My actual face remains 28, but every mirror in the house shows me as ancient. White hair, liver spots, deep wrinkles carved by time and sorrow. My servants notice. Of course they notice. Martha, my housekeeper, found me standing in the parlor at 3 in the morning, rearranging furniture I had no memory of touching. She asked if I was feeling well. Her voice held that careful tone people use with the potentially insane. "I'm fine," I told her. "Just couldn't sleep." But I'm not fine. The visions are getting stronger, more detailed. Yesterday I lost 6 hours. Came back to myself sitting at my writing desk with 17 pages covered in handwriting that isn't mine. The letters are cramped, urgent, written by someone with limited education but fierce determination. The pages contain a list, names, dates, prices, records of every person sold from Oak Ridge Plantation between 1848 and 1856. Information that should be in my father's ledgers, but isn't. Whole years are missing from his official records. Convenient gaps where questions might have emerged. But someone remembered. Someone kept track. Someone documented every transaction with perfect accuracy. At the bottom of the 17th page, one entry stands out. Eliza, age 22. Sold October 1854. Price $1,200. Buyer, Madame Laveau's establishment, Dauphine Street, New Orleans. Guarantee of permanent separation from all blood relations. My hands shake as I read it. Madame Laveau's establishment. Everyone knows what that means. A brothel. One of the cruelest forms of enslavement, where women's bodies become commodities in the most explicit way. My father sold her there, deliberately, knowing exactly what would happen to her. Why? What did she do to deserve that fate? What crime warranted such calculated cruelty? Or was it not about punishment at all? Was it about erasure? About making someone disappear so thoroughly they could never return, never speak, never testify to whatever truth they carried. I need answers. I go to my father's cottage. It sits empty now, waiting for me to decide what to do with his possessions. The door sticks in humid weather. Inside, dust motes drift through afternoon sunlight. The space smells like pipe tobacco and old paper. His study contains filing cabinets full of plantation records. I start pulling folders, looking for 1854, for Eliza's name, for any explanation. Most files are routine: cotton yields, equipment purchases, wages paid to overseers. Then I find a folder marked Personal, Confidential. Inside, letters. The first is from my mother, Mary Thornwood, dated July 1854. Her handwriting slopes dramatically, the script of a woman educated in penmanship but writing in fury. James, I will not tolerate this situation another moment. The evidence of your indiscretion grows more obvious by the day. People are beginning to notice, to comment, to question. You will resolve this immediately, or I will take our daughter and return to my father's house in Virginia. You will be left with your shame and your property and the hollow shell of a reputation. Choose. Your wife, Mary. The next letter is my father's response. A draft, never sent, covered in crossed-out phrases and revisions. Mary, you're right. I've made arrangements. The problem will be resolved by month's end. She'll be sent far enough south that return is impossible. The child will be placed separately. No one will ever connect them. No one will ever know. Our daughter will grow up without this shadow. I swear it. Our daughter. Me. I was the reason, the motivation, the justification. My father sold a woman into sexual slavery to protect my reputation, to preserve my inheritance, to maintain the fiction of our family's respectability. I run to the bathroom and vomit until my stomach is empty. When I return to the study, shaking, the daguerreotype is there, on my father's desk, though I left it at my house, though I didn't bring it with me. The woman stares out from the metal plate with those knowing eyes, and for the first time, I truly look at her face. Not just her beauty, not just her fury, but her features. The shape of her nose, the curve of her jaw, the widow's peak at her hairline. I've seen that face before. Every morning, in my mirror, before my reflection started aging into someone else. We have the same bone structure, the same facial proportions, the same genetic blueprint. The room tilts. I grab the desk to steady myself. It's impossible. Unless my father had another child. A child born around the same time as me. A child he needed to erase because her existence proved his crime. I remember my mother's letter. The child will be placed separately. Child, singular, not Eliza's child. The child, as if there was only one that mattered. But there were two, weren't there? There had to be. Because I'm looking at my own face in a photograph taken 70 years ago of a woman who should be a stranger, but feels like looking into a mirror that shows me who I might have become if I'd been born on the other side of my father's terrible choices. The visions hit me like a physical blow. I'm in a nursery, 2 cradles, 2 babies. One carved wood with fine linens, one woven basket with simple cloth. They look nearly identical, same size, same age, born weeks apart at most. A woman, Eliza, stands between them, looking at both. Her face contains enough love to encompass 2 children and enough grief to drown in. She knows she's losing them both. Her own daughter will be taken. The master's legitimate heir will grow up never knowing her half-sister exists. Half-sister. The word echoes through my consciousness like thunder. When I come back to myself, I'm on the floor of my father's study. 7 hours have passed. The sun is setting. My clothes are soaked with sweat. And I know the truth now. The terrible, undeniable truth. I have a sister. Somewhere. A half-sister born into slavery while I was born into privilege. We shared a father who claimed me and discarded her, who gave me everything and gave her to men who would use her body as property. The daguerreotype burns in my hands, not metaphorically, literally. The metal grows hot enough to hurt. I drop it, and it lands face up on the wooden floor. The woman's image seems to shimmer, to move. Her lips part, as if speaking words I can't hear, but somehow understand anyway. Find her. Find what's left. Bear witness to what he did. Testify to what I could not. I understand now. This isn't a haunting. It's a summoning. Eliza's photographic memory didn't die with her body. It attached itself to this image, this evidence, this testimony preserved in silver and rage. She's not trying to punish me. She's trying to recruit me, to make me see what she saw, know what she knew, carry forward the witness she couldn't deliver while alive. My reflection in the window glass shows an old woman, ancient, withered by time and truth. But my hands are still young, still capable, still able to do what Eliza could not. The question is, will I? The plantation records don't match. I've spent 6 hours in my father's study, cross-referencing ledgers, and there's a gap. 1854 to 1855. Births should be recorded, every enslaved child born on the property documented as increasing the owner's assets. Sales should be noted, purchases logged. Instead, blank pages. Not missing pages torn out, blank pages left intentionally empty, as if an entire year of human lives simply didn't happen. As if people could be erased through careful omission. Except for one line, written in my father's hand at the bottom of the 1854 ledger. E. Transported south. Price $1,200. Matter resolved. And underneath, scratched out so violently the pen tore through the paper, something that looks like, God forgive me for what? The rest is obliterated, gouged away by someone who started to confess and then thought better of it. I thought I knew my father, respected businessman, pillar of the community, attended church every Sunday, donated to orphanages, spoke eloquently about duty and honor and responsibility. I thought I knew what kind of man he was. The mirror behind me shows my reflection weeping. But when I touch my face, it's dry. The woman in the glass, ancient, broken, cries, while I sit frozen in shock. Two different reactions to the same truth. Two different women occupying the same space. Me, and the ghost of who I might have become if I'd been forced to witness what Eliza witnessed. I need more information. The ledgers tell me almost nothing. My father was careful, methodical in his erasure. But people remember. Even when records lie, memory persists. There's a freedmen's settlement 10 miles east of here. Established after the war by former enslaved people from surrounding plantations. Some of them must have been at Oak Ridge during my father's time. Someone must remember 1854. Someone must remember Eliza. I prepare for the journey. Martha catches me in the hallway carrying a travel bag. "Miss Abigail, where are you going at this hour?" "To find the truth," I tell her, "about my father, about what he did." She goes very still, her face carefully neutral in that way enslaved people perfected, showing nothing, revealing nothing, protecting themselves through opacity. Martha worked for my father before she came to me. She was there during the years I'm investigating. She knows something. I see it in the way her hands clasp together, the way she won't meet my eyes. "Martha," I say quietly, "please, I need to understand." She's silent for a long moment. Then, "There are some truths that help nobody, Miss Abigail. Some stones better left unturned." "But they're already turned," I tell her. "The woman in the photograph won't let me leave them buried." Martha's eyes widen slightly. "You found it then? The daguerreotype? You knew about it?" "Everyone knew," she says softly. "Those of us who were there. We knew about Eliza, about her gift, about what happened to her and her baby. We just didn't speak of it. Not to white folks. Not where it could get us in trouble." "Tell me now," I beg. "Please." She shakes her head. "It's not my story to tell. But the woman you want to talk to is named Ruth. She lives in the freedmen's settlement. Cedar Grove, they call it. Ruth was Eliza's friend, closest thing she had to family at Oak Ridge before everything went wrong." "Is Ruth my—" Martha holds up a hand, stopping me. "Don't ask me questions I can't answer without making myself a liar. Go to Cedar Grove. Find Ruth. She'll tell you what you need to know, if she judges you worthy of knowing it." The journey to Cedar Grove takes half a day by wagon. The settlement sits on land purchased collectively by its residents after emancipation. Small houses, well-maintained, gardens, a church, a school. Everything my father's enslaved workers built for themselves once they were finally allowed to own the fruits of their labor. I ask for Ruth at the general store. The shopkeeper, an elderly man missing 2 fingers on his left hand, studies me carefully. "You're James Thornwood's daughter." It's not a question. "Yes, sir." "Why are you looking for Ruth?" "I need to ask her about someone she knew, someone named Eliza." His expression hardens. After a long pause, "Ruth don't talk to Thornwood family. Got no reason to. Got every reason not to." "I understand," I say, "but I'm not here to defend my father. I'm here because I found something he tried to hide, and I think I need to know the truth." The shopkeeper considers this. Finally, "She's at the church, teaching afternoon lessons to the children. You can try talking to her. Can't promise she'll answer. Can't promise she'll even let you through the door." The church is a simple wooden building with a cross mounted above the entrance. Inside, I hear children's voices reciting multiplication tables. I wait outside until the lesson ends. Children pour out, laughing, running. Then a woman emerges, 70 years old, maybe older. Blind in one eye, the pupil clouded white with cataracts. She moves with a cane, her back bent. But her face, God help me, her face. It's Eliza's face, aged by time, but unmistakably the same bone structure, the same features. She sees me staring and goes very still. "You're her," she says, "the daughter." the one who got everything. Her voice holds no anger, just statement of fact. Yes, ma'am, I whisper. Why are you here? I found a daguerreotype of a woman named Eliza, and I've been seeing things, remembering things I never experienced. My reflection is aging in mirrors. Furniture moves by itself. I don't understand what's happening, but I think I need to know who she was. The woman studies me with her one good eye for a long, uncomfortable moment. I'm Sarah, she says quietly. Sarah Patterson. And Eliza was my mother. Ruth sent word you were coming, said you had questions about the old days. Come inside. If my mother's memory is finally reaching you, finally making you see, then it's time you heard the whole story. The one your father spent his life trying to erase. We sit in the empty church. Afternoon light streams through simple windows. Sarah settles onto a pew with a sigh. Ruth was my mother's friend, Sarah begins. Her only real friend at Oak Ridge. Ruth still lives here in Cedar Grove. She's the one who told me you'd been asking questions. But it's my story you need to hear first. She pauses, organizing her thoughts. My mother, Eliza, had a gift. She remembered everything, every word of every conversation, every face she ever saw, every place she ever been. Could tell you what dress someone wore 3 years ago on a Tuesday in March. Could recite entire books after hearing them read once. Made her useful to the master. He used her as a record keeper. Had her memorize things instead of writing them down. Financial dealings he didn't want on paper. Conversations with business partners he wanted recalled word for word. But gifts can become curses when the wrong people notice them. Sarah's face tightens with old pain. Your father noticed my mother, really noticed her. She was beautiful, yes, but more than that, she was extraordinary. Her mind fascinated him. He started summoning her to the main house, late at night when his wife was sleeping. At first, he just talked to her, asked her to recite things, tested her memory. Then the talks became something else. My mother never had a choice in what happened. You understand that? No enslaved woman has a choice when the master wants her. I nod, my throat tight. She got pregnant, Sarah continues. Same time as Mrs. Mary. 2 babies coming, born weeks apart. One in the main house with doctors and comfort. One in a cabin with just Ruth to help deliver her. Ruth told me she was there when I was born, April 1854. Beautiful baby girl, she said. Light-skinned, green eyes, no mistaking who the father was. For a while, my mother got to keep me. Master Thornwood even seemed pleased, in his way, like he'd created another interesting possession. But Mrs. Mary figured it out. She counted backwards, realized what had happened, and she gave him an ultimatum. Get rid of us both, or she'd leave and take you with her. Sarah's voice drops. That's when your father made his choice. He kept you, his legitimate heir, and he sold my mother and me, separately, to different buyers. Made sure we'd never find each other. My mother was sent to New Orleans, to a brothel on Dauphine Street. Sarah looks at me intently. I was sold to a plantation 2 counties over. I don't know what happened to her after that sale. Lost track. Never saw her again. But Ruth told me that before they took my mother away, she came to Ruth one last night. She'd stolen that daguerreotype from the master's study, and she told Ruth something Ruth never forgot. She said, "My memory is stronger than their chains. Someday, somehow, someone will see what I've seen. Someone will bear witness, even if it takes generations. Then she was gone. Ruth never saw her again either. Sarah reaches out and takes my hand. Her fingers are gnarled with arthritis, but her grip is strong. You're seeing what she saw, aren't you? Her memories are bleeding into you. Yes, I whisper. That's because you're her daughter too, in a way. Share the same father, same blood. Her testimony is reaching across time through that blood connection, through that daguerreotype she marked with her promise. She's not haunting you, child. She's recruiting you, making you witness what she couldn't make anyone see while she was alive. The question is, what are you going to do about it? I touched the daguerreotype last night, and my hand burned. Not metaphorically, literally. The metal went from room temperature to scalding in the space of a heartbeat. I dropped it with a cry, and when I looked at my palm, there was a mark. Not a burn blister, something else. A handprint. Small, feminine, pressed into my skin like a brand, as if someone reached through the photograph and grabbed me from inside. The pain was immediate and absolute, but it wasn't just physical. The moment that phantom hand touched mine, I wasn't in my bedroom anymore. I was in a slave quarter, one room, dirt floor, walls made of rough-hewn logs with gaps where wind whistled through. A single window covered with oiled paper that turned sunlight yellow and diffuse. But I wasn't seeing this through my eyes. I was seeing through hers, through Eliza's eyes, living her memory. It's the night before they take her away, October 1853. No, wait, 1854. The dates blur in the intensity of the memory. She's sitting on the floor of the cabin, holding her daughter, 6 months old. The baby makes soft sounds, tiny fingers gripping Eliza's thumb. Eliza is memorizing. The exact weight of the child in her arms, the pattern of hair growth on her scalp, the spacing of her fingers, the sound of her breathing. Every detail catalogued with perfect precision by a mind that forgets nothing. Because tomorrow she'll have nothing but this memory. Ruth sits beside her, weeping quietly. You don't have to do this, Ruth says. You could run. Try to make it north. Eliza shakes her head. With a baby? We'd never make it. And when they caught us, it would be worse. They'd sell her to someone cruel out of spite. At least this way, maybe she gets a chance at a decent master. Maybe she survives. Her voice is calm, resigned. But inside I feel her rage. It's like standing next to a furnace. Her fury at the injustice, at the powerlessness, at loving someone she can't protect. She kisses her daughter's forehead, breathes in the baby smell, locks it into her perfect memory. Then she says something that makes my blood freeze. I'm going to make them remember, Ruth. All of them. Even if I have to reach back from the grave to do it. My memory won't die with my body. I'll find a way to testify, to make someone see, to force them to acknowledge what they've done. Ruth looks frightened. That's dangerous talk, Eliza. The truth is dangerous, Eliza replies. That's why they work so hard to hide it. The memory shifts, jumps forward. Now I'm in the main house, dead of night. Eliza moves through shadows, knowing exactly which floorboards creak, which doors stick, which paths through the house make no sound. She's done this before, many times. When James Thornwood summoned her, when she had no choice but to come to his bed. She remembers every time, every violation, every moment she couldn't refuse. Now she uses that knowledge for theft. The study is dark except for moonlight. She finds the daguerreotype in the hidden compartment behind the false panel in his desk. Her own image stares back at her from the silver plate. Young, furious, beautiful in a way that made the photographer nervous. She'd seen his discomfort when he took the portrait, seen how her direct gaze unsettled him, how her refusal to perform subservience made him fumble with his equipment. Good, she'd thought then. Be uncomfortable. See me as human. Witness what you'd rather ignore. Now she takes a nail from the desk drawer, scratches words into the soft metal backing with vicious precision. I remember everything. I see everything. It's a promise, a curse, a testimony that will outlive her flesh. She tucks the daguerreotype into her dress and continues through the house, up the stairs, down the hall, to the nursery where 2 babies sleep, her daughter in a basket on the floor, James's legitimate daughter, me, in a carved wooden cradle. Eliza looks at both children, half-sisters who will never know each other, one who will inherit everything, one who will inherit nothing but chains. The injustice of it threatens to choke her. But she doesn't wake the babies, doesn't risk discovery. Instead, she does something stranger. She places her hand flat against the nursery wall, closes her eyes, and projects her memory onto this space. I can feel her doing it, feel her extraordinary mind creating a kind of anchor point, a place where her witnessing can attach to reality. This room, she thinks with fierce intentionality, this house, this family, I'm marking you. My testimony will return here. Someone from his bloodline will see what I've seen, know what I know, bear witness in my place. The memory releases me suddenly, violently. I'm back in my bedroom, gasping, my heart racing. 6 hours have passed. Dawn light creeps through the windows. The handprint on my palm has faded to a pale scar, but it's still there, still visible. A mark that connects me to her across 70 years of death and silence. I look at the daguerreotype lying on the floor where I dropped it. The woman stares out with those knowing amber eyes. She did this deliberately, chose this method, used her photographic memory as a weapon. But how? How does memory survive death? How does consciousness persist in silver and metal? I don't know, can't know, but I feel the truth of it anyway. Feel her presence pressing against mine, urging me forward, demanding I see more, know more, testify more. My reflection in the dressing table mirror looks 90 years old. White hair hanging limp, face collapsed into valleys and ridges of age, hands like bird claws. But it's not aging from time. It's aging from knowing, from carrying the weight of witnessed suffering. This is what bearing testimony does to you. This is the price of seeing what others have hidden. I've spent my whole life comfortable, protected, shielded from ugly truths by my father's wealth and position. I never had to think about where that comfort came from, never had to acknowledge the suffering that built my privilege. Now, I can't unknow it, can't unsee it. Eliza's memory is forcing me to witness, to understand, to carry the burden I inherited along with the wealth. There's more. I can feel it. More memories waiting to flood through me. More testimony demanding to be heard. I pick up the daguerreotype with shaking hands. The metal feels warm again, almost alive. Show me, I whisper to the woman in the image. Show me everything. Don't let me look away. The visions come faster now, harder, like a dam breaking. I see Eliza in New Orleans, the auction block on Chartres Street, men examining her like livestock, hands on her arms, her teeth, her body. The auctioneer's voice describing her attributes: youth, beauty, strong constitution. I see her sold to Madame Laveau, the brothel on Dauphine Street with its false luxury, velvet curtains hiding cruelty, perfume masking despair. I see years of violation, men who paid for access to her body, night after night, month after month. Her photographic memory recording every face, every name, every crime, building evidence for a trial that would never happen in her lifetime. But she's patient. Her memory is patient. I see her getting sick, yellow fever maybe, or cholera, the diseases that swept through New Orleans, killed enslaved people by the dozens, because their owners couldn't afford to care for them properly. I see her dying, 31 years old, in a room above the brothel, alone except for one other woman who holds her hand and weeps. With her last breath, Eliza whispers, "I remember. I see. I testify." Then she's gone. But her memory isn't. Her witnessing isn't. It lives in the daguerreotype, in the mark she carved into its backing, in the intention she projected into that image, waiting for someone to find it, to see it, to carry her testimony forward. And I did. I found it. I'm seeing it. Now I have to decide what to do with it. When I come back to myself, I'm on the floor again. My hands are cramped from clutching the daguerreotype. My clothes are soaked with sweat that isn't mine. It's hers, from fever and fear and dying. I've lived 7 years of her life in the space of hours, experienced her suffering, witnessed her testimony, and I can't unknow it, can't unsee it, can't walk away from this responsibility. The mark on my palm throbs, the handprint scar that connects me to her across time and death. Ruth was right. Eliza isn't haunting me. She's recruiting me, making me see what white people spent generations trying to hide, forcing me to bear witness to crimes my own father committed. The question Ruth asked echoes in my mind. What are you going to do about it? I look at my reflection, ancient, withered, broken by knowledge. Then I look at my actual hands, still young, still capable, still able to act. I'm going to find my sister, I say aloud to the empty room. I'm going to find Eliza's daughter, my half-sister. I'm going to locate what's left of the family my father tried to erase, and I'm going to give them what they're owed. Not just money, not just property, testimony, acknowledgement, public witness to what was done. The daguerreotype warms in my hands, not burning this time, something gentler, approval maybe, or just recognition that finally, after 70 years, someone is listening to what Eliza couldn't say while alive. I stand. My legs shake but hold. The hunt begins now. The archives in New Orleans have a record my father tried to destroy. I find it on the 3rd day of searching. 3 days of dusty record rooms and unhelpful clerks and dead ends. 3 days of sleeping in a boarding house that smells like mildew and yesterday's fish. 3 days of my reflection getting older while my body stays young. The document is filed incorrectly. Deliberately, I suspect. Put in the wrong year, wrong category, wrong drawer. Someone wanted it lost but couldn't quite bring themselves to destroy it completely. Bill of sale, dated October 18th, 1854. One Negro woman named Eliza, approximately 22 years of age, sold with guarantee of separation from all blood relations. No reunion permitted under any circumstances. Buyer agrees to transport subject minimum 500 miles from point of origin. Price $1,200. Buyer Maison Laveau, Dauphine Street, New Orleans. Establishment type listed as boarding house, but everyone knows what that means. My father's signature at the bottom, James Edward Thornwood, his handwriting confident, unbothered, as if he were selling furniture instead of a human being, as if separation from all blood relations were a feature, not an atrocity. But there's more. Clipped to the bill of sale with a rusted pin, another document. Birth record, filed 6 months later. Abigail Catherine Thornwood, born April 2nd, 1855. Father, James Edward Thornwood. Mother, Mary Louise Thornwood, née Harrison. In the margin, written in tiny letters someone tried to erase with what looks like spit and desperate rubbing, half-sister to... The rest is smudged beyond reading, but I don't need to read it. I know what it said. Half-sister to Eliza's daughter. My father filed my birth record in the same folder as Eliza's sale document. Why? Was it guilt? Some twisted need to keep the evidence of his crime connected to the evidence of what he protected by committing it? Or was it something else? A deliberate choice? A record-keeper's instinct, keeping related transactions filed together for easy reference, as if we were both just transactions to him, property transfers, assets managed. I photograph the documents with shaking hands. The clerk watches me suspiciously but says nothing. Technically, these are public records. Anyone can view them. But how many people know to look? How many would connect these dots? Only someone with Eliza's memory. Someone who remembers everything, who sees everything. I take the photographs back to my boarding house, spread them on the small table under lamplight, study them until the words blur. That night, the visions come without me touching the daguerreotype. I'm in the brothel, Maison Laveau. The name is elegant, but the reality is horror dressed in velvet and perfume. Eliza is 23 now, been here almost a year. Her photographic memory has become both curse and survival mechanism. She remembers every client's face, every name, every crime they commit in rooms designed for secrecy. She's building a ledger in her mind, evidence for prosecution that will never happen. But she collects it anyway, compulsively. Because if she doesn't record it, if she doesn't witness it, then the suffering becomes meaningless, becomes just pain with no purpose. At least documentation gives it meaning, makes it testimony. I feel what she feels, the dissociation required to survive, the way she separates her consciousness from her body during violations, sends her mind elsewhere while men use her flesh. She thinks about her daughter, wonders where she is, if she's safe, if whoever bought her is kind. She thinks about the daguerreotype, wonders if anyone will ever find it, if her carved message will ever be read. She thinks about justice, not the earthly kind, that's impossible for someone in her position, but cosmic justice, karmic balance, the universe eventually correcting its accounts. She holds on to this belief like drowning people hold driftwood. The memory shifts. Years pass in fragments. Eliza is 26, 28, 30. Her beauty fades under the weight of trauma and disease. Madame Laveau complains she's not attracting premium clients anymore, threatens to sell her to a plantation. Field work instead of bedroom work. Eliza almost welcomes it. At least cotton doesn't require you to pretend pleasure during your own violation. Then the fever comes. Yellow fever sweeps through New Orleans in the summer of 1861, kills hundreds. The brothel closes temporarily, but Eliza is already sick. Too sick to move, too sick to be worth transporting. Madame Laveau leaves her in a room upstairs with a bucket of water and no medical care. If she survives, fine. If not, one less mouth to feed. Eliza survives 4 days. I feel her dying, the fever burning through her body, the delirium that makes reality liquid and unstable. The moments of clarity where she knows this is the end. In those clear moments, she thinks about her memory, her perfect, comprehensive, testimonial memory. All that witnessing, all that evidence, dying with her. Unless she doesn't understand how it works, doesn't have language for what she's attempting. But she focuses on the daguerreotype with the last of her consciousness, sends her memory toward it like an arrow toward a target. I remember everything. I see everything. I testify. The words become a mantra, a spell, an intention so fierce it tears through the boundary between living and dead. Her last breath carries those words, and somehow, impossibly, they attach to the silver plate 200 miles away in a hidden desk drawer in Mississippi. Memory persists. Testimony survives. Witnessing transcends death. When I wake from the vision, I'm on the floor of my boarding house room. 9 hours have passed. My landlady is pounding on the door, demanding to know if I'm alive. "I'm alive!" I call out. My voice sounds wrong, too old, too broken. The mirror shows me at 95, ancient beyond imagining. White hair thin and wispy, face collapsed into itself. But my hands are still young when I look down at them. The aging is only in reflection, only in mirrors and glass. As if my surface stays young, but my witnessed self, the self that knows what Eliza knew, that one ages under the burden of testimony. I have to find my sister, Eliza's daughter, my half-sister. The birth record didn't list where she was sold, just that she was placed separately. Could be anywhere in the South. But I have something my father didn't count on. I have access to his private papers, his correspondence, the detailed records he kept of everything except what he most wanted hidden. I returned to Mississippi, to my father's cottage, to the study where I found the first clues. This time, I'm methodical. I go through every folder, every loose paper, every scrap of notation. In a folder marked Estate Management 1854, I find a letter from a lawyer in Jackson. Dear Mr. Thornwood, per your request, I have arranged private sale of the infant girl to Mr. and Mrs. Samuel Patterson of Willow Creek Plantation, Greene County. The Pattersons were seeking a house servant to train from young age and were willing to pay premium for a child of light complexion who might work in visible household positions. Sale price, $400. The Pattersons have agreed to your stipulation that the child's origins remain confidential. They will raise her as a household acquisition from estate liquidation. No questions asked. I trust this resolves the matter to your satisfaction. Respectfully, Howard Chen, attorney at law. $400. My father sold his own daughter for $400 to people who would raise her as property, while I was christened in the town church wearing imported lace, while I learned piano and French and embroidery, while I inherited a plantation and investments and the family name. She was being trained to serve, to bow, to call white children master and miss. The injustice of it threatens to choke me. But now I have a name. Willow Creek Plantation, Greene County. The Pattersons. I can find her, or find what became of her. The daguerreotype burns warm in my traveling bag, Eliza's presence pressing against my consciousness, urging me forward. Find her. Make them see. Bear witness to what they did. I will, I whisper to the empty room. I promise. The hunt continues. It's not a curse. I understand that now, sitting in the reading room of the Greene County Courthouse, surrounded by decades of property records. Eliza isn't haunting me. She's testifying. Every moved object in my house, arranged to match the layout of rooms where atrocities occurred. Evidence placement. Every aged reflection in my mirrors, showing me what bearing witness does to a soul. Truth's weight made visible. Every vision that tears through my consciousness, testimony delivered directly, bypassing the filters that let people look away. She's not punishing me. She's using me. Using my bloodline connection, using my privilege, using my access to records and spaces and information that she never had while alive. I'm not being cursed. I'm being recruited as a witness, an advocate, a voice for testimony that was silenced. The worst part? I understand why she chose me specifically. Because I'm the daughter who got everything, the one my father chose, the one whose comfort was purchased with another child's suffering. Making me see what my privilege cost. That's not revenge. That's education. Brutal, necessary education about debts I didn't know I owed. I find the Willow Creek Plantation records in a water-stained ledger from 1854. Purchase of one female child, age 4 months. Name given, Sarah. Assigned to household training under supervision of head cook Mrs. Michaels. Sarah. They renamed her. Took away whatever name Eliza might have whispered to her in those brief months together. Gave her a simple, common name, the kind you give to property, to something interchangeable. I trace Sarah's life through notations in the ledger. Age 5, learning basic tasks. Age 8, assigned to nursery duty. Age 12, promoted to dining room service. Then 1865, the war ends, emancipation. The ledger stops tracking Sarah as property, but there's a note in the margin, different handwriting. Sarah Patterson, taking surname of former owners, as many freed people did, remains employed as paid servant. Wage $2 monthly plus room and board. She stayed. After emancipation, she stayed at the plantation that owned her childhood. Did she have a choice? Real choice? Or was freedom just a word when you had nowhere to go, no family to return to, no resources beyond what former masters might grant? I need to know if she's still alive. She'd be 70 now. Possible. People live that long. The clerk helps me search death records. We find nothing for Sarah Patterson in Greene County. She must have moved after emancipation. Many formerly enslaved people did, seeking communities, safety, distance from the places that held them. I remember Cedar Grove, where I met Sarah weeks ago, where she first told me about her mother, about Ruth, Eliza's friend who still lives there too. I need to return, to show Sarah what I've found, the documents, the proof, the full scope of my father's crimes. The journey back to Cedar Grove feels different this time. I'm not searching blindly. I'm carrying evidence, documentation, the ammunition Sarah will need if she chooses to pursue justice. Sarah is tending her garden when I arrive. She looks up, sees me approaching, and straightens slowly. Sarah is tending her garden when I arrive. She looks up, sees me approaching, and straightens slowly. "You came back," she says. "I found more," I tell her. "Documents, proof of everything, the sale records, my father's correspondence with the lawyer who sold you, birth certificates that prove we're sisters." She sets down her gardening tools, wipes soil from her hands. "Come inside." Her house is small but immaculate. Herbs hang drying from the ceiling. A quilt in progress drapes across a chair. Everything speaks of a life built carefully from nothing. We sit at her kitchen table. I spread out the documents I've collected, bills of sale, letters, records. Sarah studies each one in silence. Her face shows nothing. That same opacity I've seen in Martha. Protection through revealing nothing. When I finish explaining, she sets the last document on the table between us. "Why are you telling me this now?" she asks. "Why not let sleeping dogs lie?" "Because she won't let them," I say. "Eliza, your mother. She attached her memory to this photograph, her testimony, and it's been showing me things, making me see, forcing me to acknowledge what my father did. I'm not here to ask forgiveness. I'm here to bear witness, to testify, to make sure what happened to you and your mother doesn't stay hidden." Sarah picks up the daguerreotype again, traces her finger along the carved words on the back. "I remember everything. I see everything." She had a gift, I explain. Photographic memory, perfect recall. She remembered every detail of everything that happened to her, and she used that gift to create testimony that survived her death. Sarah's eyes fill with tears, but her voice stays steady. "What do you want from me, Miss Thornwood?" "I want to give you what you're owed. Not just money, though there's that too. I want to acknowledge publicly what my father did. I want to restore your mother's name. I want to make sure her testimony is heard. And I want to know if you'll help me do it." Sarah is quiet for a long time. Outside, birds sing, children play. Life continues in its ordinary way. Finally, "Why should I trust you?" "You shouldn't," I say honestly. "I'm James Thornwood's daughter. I benefited from the same system that destroyed your family. But I'm also the only person in a position to make this testimony public, to force acknowledgement. Your mother chose me. Somehow, impossibly, she reached across death and chose me to carry her witness forward. I'm trying to honor that choice." Sarah studies my face, looking for deception, for manipulation, for the same lies her whole life has been built on. What she sees must satisfy her, because she nods slowly. "Tell me about her," Sarah says. "Tell me everything you know about my mother." And I do. I found her daughter in a freedmen's settlement outside Baton Rouge. No, that's not accurate. I found her granddaughter, because Sarah had children, and those children had children. Eliza's bloodline didn't end with her murder in a New Orleans brothel. It persisted, grew, branched into a family tree that Sarah carefully documented in a leather-bound book she keeps on her mantel. She shows it to me on the third day of my visit. We've been sitting together, talking, sharing pieces of our separate but connected histories, building trust slowly. The book contains names, births, deaths, marriages, all the ordinary markers of family life. Sarah's daughter, Ruth, named after Eliza's friend, born 1876. Married to Thomas Freeman, a blacksmith, 3 children. Ruth's children, spreading across Louisiana and Mississippi. Some became teachers, some farmers. One became a lawyer, though Sarah's voice holds special pride when she mentions that. My mother never got to see this, Sarah says, her finger tracing the names. Never knew her daughter survived. Never knew her grandchildren existed. Never knew the family she started continued, despite everything they tried to do to end it. But now you know, I say, and through you, she knows. Sarah looks at me sharply. You really believe that? That she's somehow aware? I believe her testimony survived. I believe consciousness can persist in ways we don't understand. I believe she's been waiting 70 years for someone to finally listen. Sarah closes the book gently. There's someone you need to meet. My granddaughter. She's been researching our family history for years, trying to fill in the gaps. She'll want to hear everything you've told me. The granddaughter's name is Josephine Freeman, 28 years old, a schoolteacher in Baton Rouge with sharp eyes and her great-great-grandmother's bone structure. She arrives at Sarah's house the next day, studies me with open suspicion. You're James Thornwood's daughter, she says, the one who got the plantation and the money and the family name, while my great-grandmother got sold like livestock. Yes, I say. I don't offer excuses or justifications, just acknowledgement. Josephine sits across from me at Sarah's kitchen table. And you expect us to believe you want to make this right, out of the goodness of your heart? No, I say. I expect you to believe I'm being forced to make this right by a dead woman who won't let me rest until I do. I show her the daguerreotype, tell her about the visions, the aging reflections, the furniture rearranging itself, the memories that aren't mine flooding through my consciousness. Josephine listens with a skeptical expression, but when I finish, she says, "Show me your hands." I hold them out. She examines the scar on my palm, the handprint that burned itself into my skin the night I touched the daguerreotype. This is real, she says quietly, not a parlor trick or theatrical makeup, real scarring. I nod. She looks at her grandmother. What do you think, Nana? Sarah's expression is thoughtful. I think Eliza was the most stubborn woman who ever lived. If anyone could force testimony across the grave, it would be her. Josephine pulls out a notebook. I've been documenting our family oral histories for 5 years, collecting stories from elders before they die, trying to reconstruct what slavery scattered. She flips pages, shows me careful handwriting, names, dates, stories passed down through generations. Every family has fragments, she says, pieces of information preserved in memory. My great-aunt remembered being told about a woman with perfect recall, someone who could remember conversations word for word, events in exact detail. We thought it was exaggeration, family mythology. It wasn't, I say. It was Eliza. Her photographic memory was real. Josephine's eyes brighten with the excitement of confirmed research. If we go public with this, with proof of what your father did, It won't just be your family's reputation that's affected. It'll open questions about how many other plantation families have similar secrets. How many white heirs are living on wealth built from undocumented crimes? Good, I say. Those questions should be asked. You understand you'll lose social standing, Josephine presses. Your family name will be associated with rape and child trafficking. People will shun you. I understand. And you still want to do this? I don't want to do this, I correct her. I have to do this. Because a dead woman with a gift for memory won't let me have peace until I bear witness to what she couldn't say while alive. Josephine studies me for a long moment, then nods. All right, here's what we need. Legal documentation proving the family connection. We need to establish blood relation between you and Sarah. There are tests, I say. New medical techniques, blood typing. We could prove we're half-sisters. We'll need the bill of sale from Eliza's purchase, the birth records, your father's correspondence with the lawyer who arranged Sarah's sale. I have all of it. Copies of everything I found in New Orleans and in my father's papers. Josephine's expression shifts to something like respect. You've been thorough. I had a good teacher, I say, touching the daguerreotype. She taught me the importance of documentation, of preserving evidence even when you think no one will ever see it. We spend the next week building our case. Josephine drafts a formal testimony. Sarah shares oral histories. I provide documentation. Together, we create a comprehensive account of James Thornwood's crimes, his rape of an enslaved woman, his sale of his own children into different forms of bondage, his lifelong cover-up. It's more than a family scandal. It's evidence of systemic cruelty, the kind of casual atrocity that slavery made routine. On the seventh day, something changes. The visions stop. The furniture in my house stays in place. My reflection in mirrors stops aging. For the first time in weeks, I sleep through the night without being dragged into Eliza's memories. I wake at dawn, feeling strange, lighter somehow, like a weight has been lifted. The daguerreotype sits on the nightstand. I pick it up, expecting the usual warmth. It's cool to the touch. Just metal and silver. No supernatural heat, no burning presence. I look at Eliza's face in the image, those fierce, knowing eyes. And for the first time, I sense something different. Not approval, exactly. Not forgiveness, but acknowledgement. She's seen that I'm doing the work, building the testimony, creating the witness she couldn't deliver alone. The haunting isn't over, but it's transformed. No longer a desperate summoning. Now it's a collaboration. We're doing this together. The dead woman who remembered everything and the living woman who inherited everything. Creating testimony that will outlive us both. My cousins think I've gone insane. The formal reading of my declaration happens in the Greene County Courthouse. I requested the venue deliberately. Public space, official record, no hiding. I stand before a magistrate and representatives from 6 local newspapers and declare, my father, James Edward Thornwood, committed multiple crimes during his lifetime. Rape of an enslaved woman, sale of his own children, deliberate separation of families, systematic erasure of evidence. I am donating half my inherited estate to the descendants of those he harmed. This includes land, investments, and monetary assets totaling approximately $96,000. Additionally, I am establishing a public memorial to Eliza Freeman, the woman my father raped and sold, and her daughter Sarah Patterson, my half-sister. The courtroom erupts. My cousin William stands, red-faced with rage. You're dragging our family name through mud based on the ravings of a dead slave. Have you lost your mind? Not ravings, I say calmly. Documentation. I have bills of sale, birth records, my father's own correspondence arranging the crimes. Would you like to see them? Those are private family papers, William shouts. You have no right to make them public. I have every right, I reply. They document crimes. Testimony should be public. The magistrate bangs his gavel. Order! Miss Thornwood, are you prepared to defend these claims in court if your family contests them? I am. I have witnesses, documentation. And I have this. I place the daguerreotype on the evidence table. Eliza's face stares out at the courtroom, her carved message visible on the backing. I remember everything. I see everything. This photograph has been in my father's possession since 1854, I explain. It contains testimony from the woman he victimized, her own words, her own witnessing, preserved across 70 years specifically so this moment could happen. One of the newspaper reporters pushes forward. Miss Thornwood, are you claiming supernatural communication with the dead? I'm claiming that evidence persists, I say carefully. That documentation survives. That testimony demands to be heard regardless of how much time passes or how thoroughly powerful people try to hide it. Whether that persistence is supernatural or simply the power of truth, I'll leave that for others to debate. The magistrate examines the daguerreotype, reads the inscription. His face remains professionally neutral, but I see recognition in his eyes. This is highly irregular, he says, but the documentation appears legitimate. I'll need time to review everything before making a ruling. The court session ends. I'm immediately surrounded by reporters shouting questions. Why now? Why reveal this 70 years later? What do you gain from destroying your family's reputation? Are you trying to alleviate guilt? Is this some form of religious mania? I answer patiently, repeatedly, the same core message. I'm doing this because I was shown the truth and I can't unknow it. Because testimony demands witness. Because injustice doesn't disappear just because the original victims die. That night, I return to my house alone. My servants have quit. Can't work for someone who's become a social pariah. Can't be associated with the scandal. I don't blame them. They have their own reputations to protect. The house feels empty, echoing, but not haunted. Not anymore. I make tea, sit in the parlor, wait. The visions return gently this time, not forced, offered. I see Eliza one last time, not dying in New Orleans, not suffering in the brothel. Further back, I see her at 19, before James Thornwood, before slavery broke her in ways that make my soul ache. She's in Virginia, freeborn, not yet kidnapped and sold, working as a seamstress. Her photographic memory makes her exceptional at replicating patterns, at remembering exact measurements. She's laughing with friends, planning to save money, dreaming of opening her own shop someday. She has a future then, possibilities, hope. I see the moment it's stolen. Slave catchers who don't care about her free papers, who tear up the documents and drag her south, who sell her illegally to a trader who asks no questions. I feel her terror, her rage, her desperate attempt to remember everything about her captors so she can testify later, report them, see them prosecuted. She thinks she'll be rescued, that justice will come, that the law will protect her because she's free, she has papers, this is illegal. She doesn't understand yet that the law won't help her, that her memory, her testimony, her truth, none of it matters against men with money and power. By the time she realizes, it's too late. The vision shifts. I see her at Oak Ridge, see James Thornwood noticing her, see her trying to be invisible, trying to be ordinary, trying not to attract attention. It doesn't work. Her beauty, her intelligence, her gift, they make her visible despite her efforts. And visibility for enslaved women is dangerous. I see the first time he summons her, the fear on her face, the knowledge that refusal isn't possible, the desperate calculation of survival. I see her pregnancy, the moment she realizes, the brief, fragile hope that maybe he'll acknowledge the child, maybe he'll provide some protection. Then I see that hope destroyed. See Mary Thornwood's rage, see James's cold decision. See Eliza understanding that she and her daughter are disposable problems to be solved through sale and separation. I see her stealing the daguerreotype, carving her message, making her promise that somehow, someday, someone will witness what she's witnessed. The vision releases me gently. I'm back in my parlor, tea cold in the cup beside me. My reflection in the window shows me at my actual age again. 28, young, privileged, but changed. Irrevocably changed by testimony I can never unknow. 2 weeks later, the magistrate rules in my favor. The estate division is legal. The memorial can proceed. The documentation enters public record. My family officially disowns me. My name is removed from the family Bible. I'm written out of the genealogy as if I never existed. The irony doesn't escape me. I'm being erased the same way my father tried to erase Eliza and Sarah. But I still exist. I'm still here, still testifying. And so is Eliza, in her way. The memorial is dedicated on a cool October morning, 70 years exactly from the date of Eliza's sale. Sarah stands beside me, Josephine, Ruth, Eliza's descendants gathered to witness. The monument is simple granite, 2 names carved in clean letters. Eliza Freeman, died 1861, New Orleans. I remember everything. I see everything. Sarah Patterson Freeman, born 1854, died 1931. Beloved mother, grandmother, witness to truth. Below, in smaller letters, this memorial stands as testimony to those who were silenced, separated, and sold. May their witness persist. May their truth be heard. May justice, however delayed, still arrive. We dedicate it together. Sarah places flowers. Josephine reads from her collected oral histories. I speak about my father's crimes and my commitment to repair. The local newspaper covers it. The story spreads. Other families begin questioning their own histories, examining their own ledgers, finding their own gaps and silences. Testimony, once begun, has a way of multiplying. That night, I visit Eliza's grave. Found it through New Orleans death records, an unmarked plot in a cemetery for the indigent. I place a new headstone, granite, to match the memorial. Her name, her dates, her carved promise. As I'm leaving, I feel warmth against my chest, the daguerreotype in my pocket. One last time. I take it out, look at her face in the fading light. and I swear I see her smile. The daguerreotype sits in a museum now, not locked away in storage, on display, behind climate-controlled glass in the Mississippi Civil Rights Museum, part of an exhibit on slavery, memory, and testimony. The placard beside it reads, "Daguerreotype of Eliza Freeman, circa 1853. This image is one of the few surviving photographs of an enslaved person taken before the Civil War. More significantly, it contains testimony carved into the backing by Freeman herself. I remember everything. I see everything." Freeman was sold in 1854 to a New Orleans brothel after bearing her enslaver's child. She died in 1861, age 31. The child, Sarah, was sold separately and raised as household property. The two were never reunited. This daguerreotype was hidden for 70 years before being discovered by Abigail Thornwood, Freeman's daughter, through the same enslaver. Thornwood's subsequent testimony and donation of family records helped document systematic erasure of enslaved families and the lasting impact of generational trauma. Freeman's photographic memory, her ability to recall events with perfect detail, became a tool of resistance. Her testimony, preserved through this image, challenged those who would forget. The exhibit opened 6 months ago. Thousands have seen it. Students, scholars, descendants of enslaved people searching for their own erased histories. I visit sometimes, stand among strangers looking at Eliza's face, listen to their reactions. Some see only a historical curiosity. Others see testimony. A few see something more, recognition of their own family's buried truths. Sarah came once, stood before her mother's image for an hour without speaking. Finally said, she was beautiful. They tried to take everything from her, but they couldn't take this. Couldn't take the fact that she was fully human, fully dignified, fully worthy of being remembered. That's the power of testimony, I said. It insists on humanity when others deny it. Sarah touched the glass gently, like touching her mother's face across impossible distance. Thank you for finding her, for making sure she's seen. I didn't find her, I replied. She found me. Because that's the truth. Eliza reached across death, across time, across the barrier between living and dead, used her extraordinary memory as a bridge, forced me to see what my privilege had allowed me to ignore. Late at night, when I'm alone in my house, I still feel her sometimes. Not haunting, just present, witnessing. The furniture no longer rearranges itself. The mirrors show my actual age. The visions have stopped. But sometimes I'll turn a corner and catch a scent, wood smoke and fear and fierce determination. Sometimes I'll wake from dreams of auction blocks and separated families. Sometimes I'll look in a mirror and for just a moment see amber eyes looking back, judging, acknowledging, witnessing. Those moments don't frighten me anymore. They remind me that testimony doesn't end, that witnessing is ongoing, that the work of acknowledging historical injustice isn't something you complete and move on from, it's something you carry forever. Sarah died last year, peacefully at age 70, surrounded by children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren. The family Eliza never got to see, but somehow helped create through sheer force of will and memory. At Sarah's funeral, Josephine approached me. "We found others," she said. "Other families with similar stories. Other people discovering their white relatives tried to erase their black ones. We're creating a network, documenting, building collective testimony. Good, I said. That's exactly what she wanted, what she died trying to achieve. Josephine handed me a folder. We found this in Nana's papers. She wanted you to have it. Inside, a letter in Sarah's careful handwriting. Dear Abigail, by the time you read this, I'll be gone. But I wanted you to know something. I spent my whole life not knowing my mother, not knowing where I came from, living with a gap at the center of my identity that nothing could fill. What you did, bringing her testimony forward, acknowledging the truth, giving her a name and a memorial, it didn't erase that gap, but it gave it meaning. My mother's suffering wasn't meaningless. My childhood as property wasn't just random cruelty. It was part of a system that destroyed millions of families just like ours. By documenting one story thoroughly, you helped illuminate the larger truth, and that matters. I forgive you for the sins of your father, not because you asked for forgiveness, because holding on to anger at someone who's trying to do right serves no purpose. But don't mistake forgiveness for absolution. You still carry responsibility, not for what James Thornwood did, for what you choose to do now with the knowledge you have. Keep testifying, keep witnessing, keep refusing to let people forget. That's how you honor the dead, by making sure their truth survives them. With respect, Sarah Patterson Freeman. I visit the museum today, stand before the daguerreotype like I've done dozens of times before. A young woman stands beside me, 20-something, black, staring at Eliza's face with tears streaming down her cheeks. Are you okay? I ask gently. She looks at me, sees a white woman in expensive clothes, probably assumes I'm just a curious tourist. My great-great-grandmother was sold south in 1855, she says. Family story says she had perfect memory, could remember everything she'd ever seen or heard. We thought it was just mythology, family exaggeration, but now I'm wondering if it was real. If she had the same gift as this woman. If maybe... She stops, looks back at the daguerreotype. If maybe she tried to leave testimony too, somewhere, somehow. Maybe she did, I say. Maybe it's still waiting to be found. The woman wipes her eyes. I'm going to start researching, going through archives, looking for gaps in records, places where testimony might be hiding. I pull out a card. This has contact information for a network of people doing exactly that work, documenting erased histories, finding hidden testimony, building collective witness. The woman takes it, looks at me with new attention. Who are you? Someone who learned the hard way that the past doesn't stay buried, I say. Someone who's trying to honor the testimony of a woman who refused to be erased. I turn back to the daguerreotype. Eliza's amber eyes stare out from the silver plate. Still seeing, still witnessing, still testifying. I remember everything. I see everything. The words carved 70 years ago by a woman who knew she was dying, who knew her testimony would survive her body, who trusted that somehow, eventually, someone would listen. She was right, and her testimony continues, not just through me, through Sarah's descendants, through researchers and activists and historians, through everyone who encounters her story and refuses to look away, through museums and memorials and academic papers and conversations, through the uncomfortable questions Her witness forces us to ask about inheritance and complicity and responsibility. The museum closes at 6. Security gently herds visitors toward the exit. I'm the last to leave. I always am. At the door, I turn back one final time. The exhibit lighting has dimmed, but I can still see her face in the glass case. For just a moment, I feel that familiar warmth, that presence, that witnessing consciousness that reached across death to recruit me. Thank you, I whisper, for choosing me, for forcing me to see, for making me witness what I would have rather ignored. There's no response, no vision, no supernatural manifestation, just the quiet satisfaction of testimony delivered, of witness borne, of truth that refused to stay silent. I walk into the evening air. The Mississippi sky is purple with sunset. Somewhere in the distance, church bells ring, and I carry her memory forward, as I always will, as she always knew I would. Because some testimony doesn't end when the witness dies. Some truth demands to be heard regardless of how many years pass or how thoroughly people try to bury it. Some witnesses never stop speaking. They just wait for someone ready to listen.